Lads, Christian from Fusion YGO back here at you today with another combo tutorial because I realized I haven't done one for scraps yet, and I've updated this deck list so much that I figured it was just time to do one anyways. And this is actually a direct follow-up to my scrap deck profile, so if you guys haven't seen that yet, go ahead and check it up in the card right there, I believe. Now I'm the one getting it wrong. Wow, I'm sorry, Patrick. So anyways, let's just go ahead and jump right into the video today. Alright, so what I'm going to be showing you guys today is a single variant of the one card combo. Outside of that, really every hand kind of fully depends on what you end up drawing for turn. So I'll show you guys this basic combo to kind of like get started, and then I'll show you kind of the updated version, or I'll just do a couple of test hands for you guys so you can see how flexible the deck is and how it can make these same plays very differently. Alright, so we're going to start off here with our opening hand is going to be a Scrap Recycler, Triple Tactics Talents, and 3 Cross a Designator. Really just a Scrap Recycler and 4 inconsequential cards, one of which that we can set in our back row. So this is going to be a test hand in which we're forced to go first, and not the most ideal situation because this deck does want to go second. So we're just going to start off our turn here. We're going to normal summon the Scrap Recycler right away, dumping the Christian Rosenix because we're assuming we don't have any extenders or additional bodies to get out on field here. Alright, so we're going to banish the Rosenix from our graveyard now to go ahead and summon out a token. We are then going to link off the token and the Scrap Recycler, going right away into our Scrap Wyvern. So now we're going to use Wyvern's effect to summon back the Scrap Recycler and pop it immediately on resolution, and then activate Scrap Wyvern's second effect to special summon a scrap from the deck and destroy a card on the field. I did actually make a mistake. Before you use Wyvern's first effect, you do want to set a back row on your field just so you have a card to destroy. So now Scrap Wyvern will summon Scrap Golem out of the deck. We'll pop our back row that doesn't matter. This can be a one-card combo. You're just going to end on much less of a board if you do it that way because you end up having to pop your Wyvern. So now we'll go ahead and activate Scrap Golem's effect, reviving Scrap Recycler to then dump once again. We'll dump a World Legacy World Chalice. It specifically needs to be a World Legacy monster, and World Chalice for this build just happens to be the best option. So now with World Chalice in the graveyard, we're going to link our Recycler and our Golem off into a lib, the World Key Blade Master. And since we control a World Chalice monster in our graveyard, we are going to go ahead and set a World Legacy Succession from our deck, which we are allowed to activate this turn. So then before we actually Succession, we're going to go ahead and use the lib and the Scrap Wyvern to go into an Appaloosa. If your opponent hasn't Nibiru'd you by this point, they're kind of making a mistake, but this at least gives you protection in case they have something else to throw at you. Now we're going to activate World Legacy Succession to revive the Scrap Golem, and then revive the Recycler one more time. On summon of the Recycler, this is kind of like a free pick for you. I'm just going to do Machina Ruin Force in this situation, but you can do Citadel, you can do really any machine you feel like dumping at this point. It, once again, all kind of depends on your hand, so that will shape up how the turn goes. So from here, we're going to link the Recycler and the Golem together, and optionally there, in this situation, you can actually also opt to not use the Recycler, so that's fine too. So we're going to go for our Codebreaker Virus Swordsman directly co-linked with the Appaloosa. It has to be in that zone specifically. We're going to summon our 0 Day from deck and then link these two off for a link 3 of Virus Berserker. Once again, co-linking with the Appaloosa. So this is where you can kind of like vary things a little bit. If you have more extenders to go into, you can revive back both your 0 Day and your Swordsman. But in this specific case, since we don't have any extenders, we're actually just going to revive back the Swordsman because we don't want to risk leaving 0 Day on our field to reduce our Appaloosa's attack points. Now, on the other hand, if you're in like games 2 or 3 and you know what you're playing against, say like you're playing against Sky Striker or somebody who runs Evenly Matched or Lightning Storm, you can actually put the Codebreaker 0 Day on your opponent's side of the field so they're stuck with a monster and they can't activate those cards right away or get started right off with certain plays. Or you could go with the Virus Swordsman, doesn't matter. Like if you don't want to lose your Appaloosa's attack points, you can put the Virus Swordsman on their field either way. All you really need on your field is link 4 with the materials so that now you can go into your Nightmare Griffin. This part is optional if you want to co-link it with the Appaloosa. If you have like an important spell or trap card in your graveyard that you want to set back to your field, like say I want to set this Cross-out Designator back out to my field, then I co-link the Griffin with the Appaloosa, discard a card from my hand to reset it, and then I get a bonus draw off of Griffin to potentially get into more plays. And look at that, we top deck a Scrap Raptor. So I mean, there's options there. There's a lot of flexibility and variability, but let me go ahead and shuffle up the deck, and I'll get to showing you guys a real test hand so you can see what it's like to actually actively play with this deck, because just doing a one card combo isn't always realistic. It's a 60 card pile, so things can change all the time, and there's so many different options to go down. So Let me go ahead and reset, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, so we're back here with the board reset here. I'm just going to draw a top 5. We're going to assume we're going second, so I'll just see the 5, and then we'll pull the 6th here in a second. So this is not a bad hand at all. Opening the redeployment, Ash, emergency teleport, fortress, and another redeployment is actually a pretty solid hand. And then for turn, we would draw a scrapyard. So this is actually a really, really good combo. This is probably one of the best combos we could actually draw here. So what we're going to do is, obviously, we probably use the Ash on our opponent's turn. Since it's not a cross-out target anymore, it's just kind of might as well use it sort of deal. So let's go ahead and activate the Machina redeployment here. In this case specifically, we're actually probably just going to pitch... We'll hold on to the redeployment for follow-up, but we're actually going to go ahead and ditch the fortress for now. So then, at this point, now we are allowed to go into our deck, and we're going to add the Machina Megaform and Machina Irradiator from our deck to our hand. So with this combo now, we can go ahead and use Irradiator's effect to discard the Megaform and summon itself. Then, now that it's on field, we can activate its second effect to target itself, summon back the Megaform, and pop the Irradiator. And then now from here, we can use Megaform's effect to tribute itself and special summon a Machina from the hand or deck, which means that we get to bring out Machina Metal Cruncher, and we'll activate his effect on summon to reveal 3 Earth Machine monsters from our deck to our opponent so that they can pick one at random to add to our hand. So then we reveal 3 Scrap Recyclers so that we guarantee that we get one of them to our hand, doesn't matter which one. And then now from this point, we can actually activate Scrapyard to go ahead and search for our Scrap Raptor here. And then from here, now we'll normal summon the Scrap Raptor, activate effect to pop itself, and then graveyard effect to search. So now we get Scrap Factory to our hand, which means we have like the most extended combo we probably could in this situation, especially having that emergency teleport. This is one of those hands that could probably play through like most disruptions outside of Floodgates. So we'll go ahead and activate the Scrap Factory now, and then follow that up by normal summoning the Scrap Recycler off of the Raptor's effect. And then since we have the extra body on field, we don't need to worry about sending a Rosenix here. So what we're going to do instead is send Machina Citadel to our graveyard. And this will allow us to chain block while we are using the Scrap Wyvern, which is just phenomenal. All right, so now we're going to link off the Recycler and the Metal Cruncher here to go into our Wyvern once again. We will go ahead and use Wyvern's effect at this point in time to summon back the Recycler and pop itself. Now, the way we build chain links here is kind of important, but not 100%. So we're just gonna go chain link 1 Wyvern, chain link 2 Factory, and then just make sure that our Citadel is chain link 3. So that way our opponent can't Ash us if they haven't already, it would be kind of a mistake anyways. So we're gonna go Citadel out on the field here, and then we're gonna go Factory to go into our deck and special summon a Scrap Monster. So we get a special summon Golem, and then Wyvern's effect will allow us to special summon the second one. So now that the second Scrap Golem is hit the field, we can assume that our opponent has some cards on their field. So with the Resolution of Scrap Wyvern's second effect, we can pop a card on their field. If they do not have anything for whatever reason, if they just passed, then we just blow up our factory and call it a day. But we'll assume that we popped one of their cards, or at least targeted one of theirs, even if it can't be destroyed. So then from here, we'll use Scrap Golem to revive the Recycler. Go ahead and send from deck to graveyard our World Legacy World Chalice. This ensures that if we get Nibiru'd at this point, which if an opponent already had Nibiru, they would have done it already. But if they hold on to it until you waste as many resources as possible and they hit it here, then you at least can guarantee that you're able to play through it because you have the emergency teleport in hand to get your second body on field. Now from this point, we can actually link off the Golem, Recycler. Make sure you use the Golem that you activated. So we'll use the Golem, the Recycler, and the Wyvern to go into a 3 material Apollosa, protecting us from any more hand traps or any more possible disruption. Now from here, you can activate the Scrap Golem, and in this case, I think we've actually got quite a few dumps, and we will get at least one more dump this turn. But just to be safe, we'll go ahead and use the Scrap Recycler. We'll just get the last dump out of him right now, and we will use him to send our Machina Ruin Force from the deck to the graveyard, so that we just have extra bodies to play around with, because we have a lot of machines in graveyard right now. So at this point, instead of using the Golem, we're actually going to use the Recycler and the Citadel, and we are going to go directly into Codebreaker Virus Swordsman. And then with Virus Swordsman, we obviously get our 0-day from the deck. There he is. And then link 3. I'm just going to move these because we're just going to special summon them right back from the graveyard. There's that. So now what we do is we're going to link off the 0-day and the Golem here to be able to go into a Lib. And then from there with Lib, we are going to go ahead and set World Legacy Succession from the deck. And then we will work on clearing up some zones here in just a moment. All right, so what we're going to do here now is we're going to activate the World Legacy Succession. And actually, I thought of a really good play since we have the E-Telly in hand. So we're going to Succession back Golem, and then we are going to use Golem's effect now to revive the Recycler once again to get another dump. This will basically get us another summon for our Ruin Force. And actually, correction, not for Ruin Force, but in this case, we're just going to send Rosenix, so we have an extra link body, which is just insane. So at this point now, we are going to link off the Scrap Recycler and the Virus Berserker. Remember, we are going second, so we are kind of trying to push for the OTK here. So now we're going to go into our access code talker made with a link 3, so he is at 5,300. I'm just not going to worry about dice right now because there's no point. And then now we can go ahead and use our emergency teleport to go ahead and summon out our Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit from the deck, who is a level 3 tuner, meaning that she is perfect for this scenario in that we can now use her and the Golem to be able to go into our Borreload Savage Dragon, and now we are going to target our Codebreaker Virus Swordsman or Virus Berserker in the graveyard. So he's a 3-negate Boral Sword, and he gains an extra 1,400 attack, putting him at 4,400. But basically, if you can't win off of this board right here, then you're doing something wrong, because you have 3 negates on Apollosa, a negate on Borreload Savage. You do have more bodies in graveyard if you need them. But really here, I mean, that is enough damage. And with Access Code Talker, you already have... You have 1 pop in graveyard, and then you have 2 more on field that you can use if you really need to. If you're too worried about, your opponent, or try to get through your opponent's board or them doing something stupid, there are, once again, plenty of options. So in this point, you can actually, if you wanted to, be able to summon out the Ruin Force. In this case, just banishing, like, your Metal Cruncher, or just banish the Megaform Irradiator. That seems pretty fine to me. That's over 12 levels. So then Ruin Force. Now, if that's not enough for game, I really don't know what you're doing wrong. You've got tons of flex space in this deck. You could have done this combo in like a million different ways. It's just a matter of what you want to end on. So let me go ahead and reset, and we'll do another quick test hand. All right, so the deck has been reshuffled now. Let's go ahead and draw our top 5 here and see how we do. So this is actually a much less optimal hand here. We're kind of relying on a top deck at this point to be able to make plays. We can actually do something with this hand. We can get started with our combo, but let's just once again assume we're going second and see what we top deck. So we're going to top deck a Red Reboot, so we have a little bit of protection from back row here, but not a whole lot of protection elsewhere. This is actually kind of a really rough hand, if we're being honest. So what we're going to do in this situation is we're going to be forced to normal summon the Ash Blossom. If we needed to, we could Kaiju one of their monsters, and we could Red Reboot any sort of back row. So we'll just assume we got rid of those. Right, so I'll just leave the Kaiju over there, and we'll just, yeah. So now at this point, we're going to have to emergency teleport to be able to summon from our deck here the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. All right, so there goes Ogre here. And then now we're going to have to link these 2 off into a Halka Fibrex. This is going to be the only way that this hand gets into any sort of combo here. So there goes Halk. Activate his effect, and off of Halk, we'll summon a Scrap Goblin to our field. This is how we get any sort of access into our combo whatsoever. It's not ideal by any means, but it works. So go ahead and link off the Halk and the Goblin now to go ahead and go into our Scrap Wyvern, which we can now use here to summon back the Goblin, tribute it, or destroy it, I should say, and then summon from deck. In this case, we're not really going to want the Golem, so we're going to go for the Scrap Raptor instead here. And then at this point, now Scrap Wyvern's resolving the second effect. We're just going to pop that Jizukiru or whatever other card is relevant on their field. And at this point now, after everything is resolved, we're going to activate Scrap Raptor, popping itself to go search. And in this specific scenario, we are going to summon the Scrap Recycler here. All right, so off of the Scrap Raptor's effect here, we're now going to normal summon the Scrap Recycler and then use his effect to dump, and then Chain Link 2 to kind of chain block a little bit. We were going to summon the Derek Rain from our hand, so he gets summoned. And then from deck, we're actually just going to go straight into the World Chalice here so we can get Lib access right away since we had the extender. And then now from here, we're going to link 2 with the Recycler and the Derek Rain going into our Lib. Once again, not at all the most ideal combo here, but if it works, it works. So we'll go ahead and use Lib's effect now to set from our deck the World Legacy Succession, which will be live this turn. And I did forget on the last combo that Lib, when it is used as link material, is able to shuffle a card on the field back into the deck. So do keep that in mind. It is another way to help break boards here. So at this point, the kind of most optimal line of play to be able to OTK your opponent and just play through stuff this turn is going to be to link these 2 off again, not for an Apollosa this time, but actually to go into the Saryuja, because this still gives you the arrows, but it's also going to give you attack boost and just let you do more for the turn. So we're going to go ahead and activate World Legacy Succession at this point, reviving the Recycler once more, and then using it to dump from the deck to the graveyard. So since we have Megaform as the last card in our hand, we actually do really want, in this point, to send the Machina Fortress, because this will actually end up getting us 2 bodies in the end instead of just 1. So we're going to use Fortress to summon itself back by discarding the Megaform. Then we're going to go ahead and link 2 to go into our Codebreaker plays once again. All right, there's 0 Day. Once again, I'm just going to skip ahead and just assume that we revived them from the graveyard off of the Virus Berserker. Oh, and actually, when we linked off for the Virus Swordsman, we were also able to banish our Fortress from graveyard to summon Megaform. Do not miss that step. That was where I intended to go in the first place. So at this point here, if your opponent has any back row, since we activated Reboot this turn, they're going to have back row. So we're going to use Codebreaker Virus Berserker to pop up to 3 back row that they have just for some extra damage. So now at this point, you're going to go ahead and link these guys off, your Virus Swordsman, Megaform, and 0 Day, to be able to go into a Boral Sword Dragon. If your opponent has any monsters in attack position on their field, you can use Boral Sword here to turn it to defense, because then you can just take your Virus Berserker and your Saryuja to actually go for an access code Talker, which is going to be a 6,300 body since you used Saryuja. And then now at this point, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 different pops that you can get off of Access Code Talker after popping back row, shuffling away a card with Lib. Basically, by this point in time, you would have already broken their field. Boral Sword can attack twice. Access Code is 6,300. There's no way you don't have game in that situation unless you got hand trapped along the way or disrupted somehow. So that is going to be it for this combo tutorial, guys. I don't want to make it go on too long for you because this is a very in-depth deck. And if you guys really want to learn a lot more of how this deck functions and how I play through a lot of different things, then be sure to watch my live streams every Sunday. I'm almost always playing scraps, and actually this video should be going up before. I'm going to be doing the 3v3 luxury tournament this weekend, which is going to be March 5th, and I'm going to be playing this deck in that event, but on Master Duel, so of course it's going to be heavily modified. So hope to see you guys there. If you enjoyed this combo tutorial, let me know down in the comments, and if there's anything else you'd want to see about this deck or anything else I could do. And anyways, guys, that's all I got for you today, and remember, good fun, have luck.